Fresh and Untitled.
I actually got something to impress you tonight.
Hey, is that Molson?
Yeah.
Nice. Canadian beer tends to be stronger than American.
Oh shit.
We have one here in Quebec. It's called La Fin du Monde. It comes in a bottle about this big with like a big like freaking metal thing on the top.
It doesn't actually say what strength this is. We'll find out in a while.
Yeah, won't take long.
Your turn to intro.
Oh, and just so you know, he's taking this interview a lot more serious than we are.
I saw that. He went to get his bio. I was like, bio? What?
I know, and he's like, do you want to do a practice recording? I'm like, sure, totally. So I'm just going to let him hold on to the illusion that we know what we're doing, and then once he starts talking to us, he'll be like, ah.
I haven't got a fucking clue what they're doing. He should have gotten that from her videos. Has he watched even one of them? So
do you want me to read this extraordinarily long bio, Mr. Chamberlin?
Mm-hmm.
Put that in the final version, please. Longer than the Star Wars intro. So today's guest, kids, is Adrian Chamberlin. And this is a bio he provided, which I will be reading terribly. Adrian Chamberlin is a British writer of dark fiction and lives in the small South Oxfordshire town of Wallingford that serves as a backdrop to the UK television series Midsummer Murders, not far from where Agatha Christie lies buried, dreaming in darkness. He is the author of the critically acclaimed supernatural thriller The Caretakers, as well as numerous short stories and a variety of anthologies, mostly historical or futuristic-based supernatural horror. He co-edited Read the End First, an apocalyptic anthology with Suzanne Robb. Author of, he says, the acclaimed thriller Z-Bot. It's not an acclaimed thriller.
I acclaimed.
It's better than that. And has many other projects in the pipeline. He's been quiet on the genre front the last couple of years, but hasn't wasted all the time on drinking tea, eating tea, drinking rum, or building model ships. Summer 2016 sees The Envious Siege, a Lovecraftian account of the Battle of Trafalgar, in Exaggerated Press's After the War, a collection of supernatural warfare novellas he has edited. But before that will be Wrens Make Prey, a retelling of Shakespeare's Richard III and Jonathan Green's Shakespeare vs. Cthulhu, Coming Anthology 2016 to celebrate 400 years of the Bard's death, and a return to the chronicles of the Body Men, mixing the disposals of beached dolphins on a modern-day British coast with the piratical exploits of Captain Henry Morgan in the 17th century and Screaming Dreams Cthulhu, I have no idea, Cymraeg 2? Cymraeg 2, people. That's what I'm given. He is aware of the concept of spare time, but swears it's just a myth. For further information, go to archivesofpain.com. And to have a little information, because I know Adrian pretty well, he's our guest today. And here he is. All right, so one of the first questions we like to ask people to start things off is just to get like a survey going when we've had more interviews done is number one, do you do an outline?
I used to. In the old days, when I was starting off, I would plan everything religiously. You know, pages and pages of notes, working out everything and every possible scenario as well. But I soon found out that that's a very restrictive way of writing. Because as you're writing, you'll find your characters actually start doing their own thing. They literally do take on a life of their own. And I think any writer in that position then has the problem of thinking, do I rein them in a bit? Do I say, oi, come back here, come on, obey the script. This is in a synopsis, it's gone off to a publisher. They don't know I haven't written it yet. You've got to do this. Or do you just say, sod it, let's see what happens, and let them go their own way? And I found out it was a lot harder to actually try and get them to actually rein in their excesses, or even them just being themselves. So my first ever story, when I decided to just have an idea and run with it, just let the characters tell the story, it was terrifying. So I thought, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm in absolutely no control of this whatsoever. I'm basically letting these made-up people do the storytelling for me. And not only did it work, I discovered there was a bit of magic in writing that I'd never come across before. Because one of the appeals now for writing is I find that I'm telling myself a story first. Now, when I open up and I get that blank screen, I don't know what is going to happen. I have an idea how it starts, but that journey, where it comes to the end, I'm on the same journey as those characters, because I literally do not have a clue what's going to happen. And yet, the downside to that means a lot of rewriting and a lot of redrafting. Because when you come to the end of it, you think, wow, what a ride. That's fantastic. Brilliant, You leave it for a couple of weeks, months, years, and you go, what the fuck was I on when I wrote this? So then you get redrafting, which everyone loves doing, as we know. And that isn't so much a bad thing either, because when you actually do get to the redrafting stage, sometimes you'll find that one character's story or their own narrative path has actually taken the story in a totally stronger direction. And some of the other characters, they're completely superfluous. The original story, the idea has gone completely out the window. It's turned into something else. So what you're doing then is basically just, it's like the old analogy of how a first draft is a lump of clay and you just, boom, 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 boom. Yeah, great, lovely, leave it for a bit. And then continue to reshape it. But going with that analogy is, I think the clay thing is more and more accurate, because the longer you leave it, the harder it sets in stone, and the harder it is to actually redraft it, get it down into a certain shape to your original vision. And sometimes that finished piece that is hardened up, it looks bloody ugly. It looks like Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore, that they were absolutely pissed out of their faces when they were doing that Potter's Wheel sketch. Look, great big dildo, not a vase.
I'm coming to think of my outlines. You know the outline I do, Suzanne, like this fucking.
Your log?
Yeah, basically. I'm actually coming to think of that as my first draft now, more than an outline. Like.
Yeah. You should see her outlines. I think she showed. Did you show it in one of the Moody episodes?
Yeah, this is actually the outline for my story for Seeds for Cabbage. So, this is a short story, bearing in mind, right? So we have.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. So that.
I would consider that more of maybe your first draft.
Yeah.
I think that's a safe bet to say now.
I think my outline is what comes to my head, and then my first draft is what goes down here. Yeah.
So, Emma, do you find that with an outline, when you start writing, do you find that you're duty bound to stick to that outline, or do you allow everything a bit of freeway?
See, I get terribly stressed if I don't know where I'm going. There's points in. This is the outline for the novel that I just kind of finished, that I'm finished editing now.
That's an outline.
It's an outline. Okay, well now we take this out because that is notes for the third one. So that's the outline. And this is all the characters, and this is the timeline and everything in here. And like there was parts in this where it was like a little bit like shady. I was like, oh, I don't really know what's going to happen here, what I'm going to do there, and I'll just skip on to the next like pertinent scene or whatever. But then when I found all the time when I was doing that, when I was coming close to that piece that I knew was missing, I was like getting really stressed out, and I was like, fuck, I don't know where this is going, and I don't know what I'm going to write. Like, but eventually, because of writing it, it will find its way. It fills in this gappy area, you know. But I get so stressed, so I don't know how anybody could have just like the start of the book and then like write it. I would be stressed after 100 words, you know.
Again, that's the magic with it as well. I mean, even with outlines, it's, as you say, it's a bit like a comfort blanket. You know, okay, this is guiding me throughout the whole story. And yet, when little plot bunnies are thrown up, we can embrace those and you think, actually, this could actually enhance the story. Or do you actually do you sort of really panic or freak out if it's going to really take you away from how you think the story is going to end? No, exactly. Well, that's it. I mean, that's fine then, because that really is the whole joy of it. I'm thinking, okay, it's going in a completely different direction, but hey, I'm on for the ride.
The one thing I remember about all your stories is the atmosphere that you're able to create, and you do not do that using characters. You do it by how? I know it's world building, but it's more than world building. So my question to you, for anybody that's listening, all three of you, atmosphere, your advice on how to create atmosphere in a story.
I think when you're writing horror fiction, you're really told to play on characters' reactions to the events around them, and that goes hand in hand with the world they find themselves in. But generally, when I write, people have said to me, you create this atmosphere really well. It's not something I'm even conscious of doing, but one thing I do remember is, and it goes back to school, and when we first learned about creative writing. Back then they said, paint a picture with 1,000 words. And back then, you would describe as much as you could, literally using 1,000 words to describe a certain scene. As you read, and read in different genres, and find out what works for you, you think, well, imagery isn't enough. And one thing I've tried to tell myself, because even now when I'm writing, when I'm creating a scene, I'm focusing too much on the visuals. And so I've a little rule. I know we have 5 senses, but I just stick on the 3 main ones: sight, sound, smell. Right? We know what it looks like. What does it sound like? What does it smell like? And if reminding myself of that, I'm thinking, okay, well, this ship is coming into harbour. Right, what does it sound like? Obviously, if it's a steam vessel, are you hearing the horn? Are you hearing the bellow of the engines? If it's a sailing vessel, are you hearing the wind billow in the sails? What does it smell like? When you're actually on this ship or in this cabin, what are the smells? Because it is true, the fact that the sense of smell is the sense most keenly associated with memory. We can go into a certain place that might be a new place, never been there before, but we'll smell something. Maybe it's someone's perfume or aftershave as they're walking past. I remember that. Now, it might be something that a family relative or a granny wore at Christmas 30 years ago, but straight away, that's triggered memory. And so using smell in your world building is so important, and it opens up so many possibilities. It also has its pitfalls, because if you're writing horror, certainly the physical horror, someone's chest is opened and you're going to instantly go for the first thing in the right horror writer's toolbook. What does it smell like? The coppery aroma of blood, the foul stench of burst intestines, blah, 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 blah. And these all go in the first draft, without a doubt. And but as you get more experience, you tend to halt them at the first draft. After you've written the sentence, you think, hang on a moment, this is lazy. Okay, copy aroma of blood. No, okay, well, everyone knows what blood smells like. With certain graphic violence, the visuals are more important than the smell, because what you see is so absolutely horrifying. The smell will normally come in afterwards. But sound, smell, sight, smell, sound. Those are things really for describing the instant horrific events. But they're not enough. What you have to do then is work out how they affect the person, and it will normally be a memory of something. Now, if they can smell the blood, now, very few people have seen a dead body. Very few people, thankfully, are going to see someone's guts open up in front of them. The mere sight of that, the mere sound of that in itself is going to overwhelm them. But the smell, it doesn't have to be anything as graphic as an exploding chest. If you should just smell something rank and something sort of sweet that's rotten at the same time, you can build a sense of dread on that, because then they will discover this exploded chest or whatever. You can actually build up a lot of tension and atmosphere. I know how something looks. If I've researched something, or if I've been there, I can visualize it, I can translate that to words, no problem. But to try and get that reaction, that interaction with the reader, to make them feel a part of it, you have to rely on the other senses. Sound and what you smell. Those are the real important things.
Hey, I hear you. Do you like Canadian tea?
I've developed a taste for it, yes. I didn't know it was
Really?
Canadian tea, but okay, I'm game. Please, lead on.
So anyways,
have Canadian tea, he needs a spittoon as well, you know.
it doubles as.
I'm just going to go and get it. I'll back in a moment.
So while he's doing that, I'll give the backstory. Adrian and I have known each other for a long time, and we send each other about 2 to 3 care packages per year, one for our birthday, one for Christmas, and one just for fun. And he loves maple products, and he doesn't get a lot in the UK. So I always send him like maple syrup and maple candies and like basically anything, maple cookies. And this year, they had a special at this place close to where I live. It's a tea shop, and they had a tea called Cabana Soup, which in English is sugar cabana, I guess, sugar cabin. And it's a thing they do here where you go up and they get freshly tapped maple syrup. They cook it for you because you have to cook it really hot to get the impurities out. And then they put it on the snow to cool down, and it turns into like this taffy, and it's super good. And they made a tea out of it. So I sent it to Adrian because it was special just for this year. And it's in this really nice metallic tin. It's got a nice label. It's all fancy. And he ate it.
Yeah. Because when you look at it,
it looks like tea.
It looks like tea.
Like tobacco. It looks like tobacco, but it also, because it smells of maple and some sort of sweetness in there. And I was taken back to my childhood in the 70s. And I thought,
when you chewed on tobacco?
Sweet tobacco. Because back in the 70s, you could get sweet cigarettes, which you could chew, and they were just like, you know. You could also get sweet tobacco. And the popular one was coconut flavour. And it was absolutely gorgeous. So I thought, wow, it's sweet tobacco. Lovely. Maple sweet tobacco. So I went, which I'll do. Right, beating it again now. And the weird thing is, you can taste the maple straight away. It doesn't taste like tea. It certainly doesn't taste like sweet tobacco either. But as I was chewing it, and my sister said, you know, 'cause she was about to have a go as well, and she said, "Are you sure that is tobacco or sweet tobacco?" I said, "Well, it's a bit bloody chewy." So then I started spitting, and you know, doing that bit, and I suddenly realised, obviously because everything's in French, And I don't see the word for tea.
Really? What is the side in big metal that protrudes?
And
What
I
does that
finally
say?
realised, embossed in a tin, David's tea.
Oh.
In English.
Oh, how we laughed. Very bitty.
Do you need to floss or something? Are you okay? We're pretty awesome, I think.